Bears taking everything. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And as we see, Bitcoin is still playing out. If you saw my last video, very similar to this orange layout that I have the hammer here. If we break this red line, my hammer is definitely down in this area. The 618 is all the way down here at $92. But the 200 EMA is very, very strong. I think we may push past it and then get a strong support and pushing back up over that 200 EMA before takeoff. Which brings me actually over to CTSI. I brought this one up right whenever it was crossing this downward trend line. We had that major push up to around 12 cents before being rejected and pushed below the 200 EMA. I was saying, looking at the CM Guppy, we may get some strong support. Potentially, we could be pushing down to the 0.05 and testing the downward trend line, but that CM Guppy pushed this up within 1 day. We actually had a push to 76% increase. If that's not bullish looking, I do not know what is bullish looking, even though we typically consider major wick-offs like this a lot of selling pressure, meaning a lot of sellers are just pushing the price lower. However, we are getting a lot of pressure pushing up from the CM Guppy and the volume. The volume picked up out of nowhere after breaking that downward trend line, which gave us that initial push up. But CTSI, if you're looking at an entry, you're looking at an entry over this downward trend line, which we have crossed over. Ultimately, we want to be holding above that 200 EMA. But when you zoom out, getting rid of this because it's kind of getting in the way. Look at the volume. The volume is absolutely insane as soon as we cross over that downward trend line. Even pushing up over that 200 EMA before, looking at the RSI, completely overbought. The volume did not pick up nearly as much as we had a bunch of buyers keeping the price higher within this area. So with that being said, the all-time high is around $1.79. Just that's astronomical volume. We are at 8 cents. So that's some pretty good ROI. If you have not entered into CTSI, you are looking for an entry anywhere within this area. Not financial advice. Spell token, still in consolidation, still trying to hold support over that upward trend line. We want to see it crossing over this 200 EMA and the downward trend line before we have an entry point on Spell. IOTX, consolidation, very healthy, trying to stay above the CM Guppy, trying to stay above the previous low, and the RSI is looking pretty healthy. We just need a little volume to start pushing this back up over that 200 EMA. We can adjust this a little bit more to make that look more like the support. And ultimately, we need to be breaking over this downward trend line, which would be pushing up to this previous high and closing, pushing it up to 0.034 cents. But like I've said in many of my videos, we have this downward trend line to be breaking right here at 6 to 7 cents. And we have some pretty nice highs for IOTX, and it moves very fast. We have seen it in the past, holding over 200 EMA and breaking over a downward trend line, major movement towards the upside. So keep IOTX on the list. Tornado Cash. Bitcoin is crashing like 15 to 30%. Tornado Cash is just chilling above that $11 mark. Just if that's not enough information, you can trade Tornado Cash on MEXC. If you use the reference link, you get $10 free USDT, which you can use to buy Tornado Cash. And Tornado Cash is pretty much the healthiest coin out of the entire market when Bitcoin has its pullbacks. Obviously, this had some major retracement, but then shot right back up over that $11 mark, held some support, is really trying to break this downward trend line. And if we start seeing some higher lows with Tornado Cash, we're going to start seeing some major pressure and start seeing this push up and out over this previous high of $13. We will arrive at probably 22 to 24, I guess 25 to 22 in the next push up. So if you guys have not entered on Tornado Cash, highly recommended, but not financial advice. Doge. Dogecoin is still supporting on that 21 cent mark, which has had stability for a very long time. Doge is about as healthy as it can get as we are building some higher lows. We are above the 200 EMA. RSI is very healthy, volumes picking up. Just trying to stay stable on this upward trend line and ultimately break over that 24 cents. If you haven't entered Doge, you can be waiting till it breaks over this 24 cents and holds. As we saw, it broke before and then came right back into it. We want to see a break and hold before that next push up for Dogecoin. Aerodrome. Major retracement. As I was saying, we could be testing this downward trend line yet again, even all the way down here into the triangle around 99 cents, even lower being the 200 EMA, meeting the Fibonacci retracement. And we could see the support from there, but anywhere within this range is a potential buy area. If we get a strong wick off and we hold above this downward trend line, that is kind of where you are looking for your entry. I believe we may start seeing some consolidation and before we hit a new high, potentially forming something like this within that range. Push back up, get a little bit of resistance, test this as support again before breaking out of that wedge on Aerodrome. But it did have that nice 86% pump previously, which actually brings me over to Compound, which we've had some pretty nice 20% pumps in between this consolidation phase. Getting rid of this, you can clearly see that there's this bottom forming. Even though it did break lower than this previous low, we need to be breaking lower than this to see that invalidated and start pushing downwards towards the next trend line at 38. However, it is holding support. It is getting a lot of resistance on that 200 EMA. But if we can get above that 200 EMA at the same time breaking this downward trend line, we can expect the major movement upwards. The ones that consolidate for a long period of time are the ones that are going to start pushing up very quickly once all the money is gathered and they want to push it to a higher price. Similar with XYO, which we will bring up, but Compound, if you have not entered in anything below 45, now is your opportunity. And you don't really have much risk as the reward will be way higher. The all-time high is near, I think it was 956. QNT still testing that 200 EMA, flirting with it, trying to bust over it, and if it does push downward with Bitcoin's movement, it will be pushing this to the oversold area, which it would need to consolidate and then start pushing towards the overbought area right afterwards. This pattern, it's pretty scary stuff to be looking at because it is breaking the trend line. We can keep adjusting this as much as we want, but it doesn't make up for the fact that the original one was right here and we are testing outside of this upward trend line. However, this market in cryptocurrency has a high tendency to fake people out, get a bunch of people to sell when you could actually be inverting this and looking at it like this. The 200 EMA is very strong. Typically, whenever we pushed over it, we had a major push towards the downside in the inverted, which is actually, if we push this way, that'll be pushing it towards this 125 mark. If it gets pulled underneath it, we could see a further retracement towards the 618 at $89. But looking back on the normal view, saying this is that strong bottom, we could see that push up towards 125 and beyond very quickly. As we saw last time it hit its absolute low, there was a bunch of buyers and immediately pushed it back up and beyond to what we had expected it previously to go to. We assumed it might have a double top and that push downwards, which was actually here within July. It's a waiting game. I know that nobody expects you to make money quickly. If you're holding on to QNT for a long time, If you want to make a lot of money in it, you have to be patient and let your dollars do the work for you. BNT, you've had many opportunities to get into BNT. It's very strong, it's consolidating, it's doing something similar to XRP and XLM. We could start seeing a downward formation of the channel, something similar to this. Can readjust this. This is what we are working within, this area. CM Guppy is pretty hot. We've seen last time we tried to break through it. I got that immediate support. This is with Bitcoin reducing in price. So did BNT. If Bitcoin reduces further, we could have that fake out down here around the 69.70 cent mark. But the 200 EMA is very strong and may just end up pushing this right past the 92 cent mark. So keep a very close eye on BNT if you have not entered for that support and stability before entering and pushing all the way up to 92 cents, which is about 26% increase, all the previous high being around 31%. So keep an eye out for those levels for BNT. XCN consolidation, breaking that upward trend line, but still not looking terribly bearish. Just a little bit of sell-off, trying to grab a bunch of money like we did back here from March till April. The beginning of April, we had that constant consolidation downwards, building up, and since it crossed that 200 EMA, major sell-off, and then held a little bit of consolidation before ultimately, within 3 days, is way beyond the part where people were selling off right here around a little bit over a penny. Here we are, a little bit over a penny. We could expect a further sell-off with some support within this area, and then that push up towards this downward trend line. Ultimately, we want to break that downward trend line in order to see that next push up. So XCN, same thing with QNT, waiting game if you are trapped within this area. But whenever it starts getting hectic, make sure you're not selling too early. You want to be able to ride that wave up as you waited this entire time to get out with some profit. Try and ride that profit up while it's up in the green, because it happens quickly. We see that down here, that 2,000% was only about a little over, what is that, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, and then it just kept its downward continuation. So when it pops, keep an eye within that 2 weeks, maybe a month, because you may have a quick retracement, you may have a major pump up. You don't want to miss out on something big like XCN. XYO, sleeping giant, like I've been talking about for the past videos. Strong consolidation period. You've had many months to enter into XYO, and we are about to cross over that 200 EMA and the downward trend line. Everything looks very bullish for XYO, and when it breaks that downward trend line, you have wished you got in at less than a cent, as that is a major opportunity. DIMO brought it up as an example. Wait for the 200 EMA. DNT, strong consolidation, similar to XYO. Very similar. If you're in XYO, you might want to snag some DNT, as this will have some major movement to the upside. We are at 2 cents. The all-time high is up here at 25 cents. May not seem like much, but it happens very quickly. As we see in the past, my prediction was here to around 6 cents, and we went all the way up to around 19 cents. 6 cents is my prediction. We went to 19 from 2 cents. Major bullish movement from what is building up with DNT. And lastly, GRT, 200 EMA, get over it. That's what we need to get over, and that 10-cent mark, and then we will take off. Like and subscribe if you want. References in the description below for MEXC if you want to trade Tornado Cash. Coinbase, KuCoin, Roller Coin if you want some passive income. I've made about 3 XRP in the recent months, just doing stupid games, but that reference link is in the description below as well. 1,000 free Satoshi if you use that roller coin link, which is free money. So good luck, have fun with it. I will see you guys on the next one.